So I'm actually noticing a common thread in my experience. I used to say I'm really good at being sad because since I was little, I've had my heart broken. Not playing the victim, I'm just saying this is the truth. Like when I was 5, my parents divorced because my dad was abusing my mom. And my mom tells this story about how I gave her this look and I was crying because she was crying, and it sounds like something I would do, but she just kind of knew in that moment that she couldn't do it. She couldn't keep doing it. So they divorced, and it was really hard for her because my dad's side of the family was very judgmental and like a church family, Pentecostal church, so Christian, and they just had this idea that you had to maintain an image, and where my mom was prioritizing like her safety and our safety, they were prioritizing like following the law of God, or what they thought it was. And that was their understanding of it, and they were afraid of going to hell. And that's again why, so many reasons why I rejected religion, after years and years of being conditioned into thinking that was the way, the truth, and the light, and that was the only way. I started getting pretty irritated with the Bible at a young age. Not everything in the Bible, but there were certain things that were standing out to me that I was like, no. And it didn't matter what excuses or what explanations I got for it. I just did not agree with certain things. So later finding out who commissioned and wrote the Bible, like, it all makes sense why it wasn't resonating. So that started when I was 5, and I remember, I think what happened was because I started gaining weight right after that, because I had a normal weight, but at that age I started visibly gaining weight. And I think it was because my nervous system got jacked up. And you develop different coping mechanisms, like you'll eat to try to create that comfort, and I even developed trigger warning, like an eating disorder, where I was forcing myself, like bulimia. I was like binge eating and then bulimic, and I was going back and forth, and it was just like this constant struggle and battle with the self. I just didn't know how to feel and how to heal. I wasn't getting any guidance. And I was really close with my younger brother. We were a year apart. I identified with being his caretaker, like that was my job, because my mom had to work 3 jobs sometimes because my dad was a bum and wouldn't pay child support because of pride, because of ego, because of selfishness. Like, he just wouldn't show up. Oh, he would show up when he wanted to play Santa and he wanted to manipulate us, but other than that. And that was really hard too, because I developed this tendency for people pleasing, because I wasn't getting what I needed by default. I strategized and I tried to figure out, how can I get this love that I desperately need, but that nobody seems to just want to give me. I started performing, for love. I developed this anxiety, and so I was always making really good grades, and I was always trying to help my mom as much as possible and take care of my brother as much as possible, and it There were a few times in my life where I remember I even told myself to stop playing with Barbies at like the age of 9 because I was like, you know what, you got to grow up. And it's like, you're 9, baby, you're 9. Don't need to grow up. But I didn't feel like I was allowed to be a child just because all the adults around me hadn't healed. So it was spilling over, and I'm also an empath, so I absorb. So I was absorbing other people's, I didn't really know this at the time, I've learned now, but I was absorbing their energies, I was absorbing their pain, I was absorbing a lot of things. Like I picked up on energy and thoughts, ever since I was little, and so it was overwhelming, and it was hard because I wanted to eventually numb myself, like when the pain got too great. And like later on when I was like 18, before that, the next milestone happened when I was about 13, and I decided to move with my dad because I was heartbroken from my first love, and I needed to, honestly, I felt like I needed to be watched more closely because I was a little worried about my safety. I was very sad, and I was sleeping a lot. And I remember that was like my way of escaping. Sorry, I didn't know I was going to get so emotional. But I just remember just getting worried about myself, like not knowing where to turn and not knowing if my mom and my stepdad really had time for me because they just had a new baby who I loved to death. I loved him dearly. So was my second brother. He's my half brother. And no, I loved it, but I also was just starting to, you're going through puberty, all these changes, and then you're also trying to just understand your own identity. And I just felt like I couldn't do that anymore while helping them raise a kid, and it was really hard for me to know who I was. So my dad manipulated me once again, and we had family in Denver, and we were visiting, and there's something about the mountains, how I just always felt at home. There was a different vibration, there was a different feeling, there was a different, I felt like it lifted my spirit. Maybe it was just being at that altitude and seeing that landscape, but I was like, you know what, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be near mountains. And I was desperate. And my mom to this day will say that I betrayed her for that move because it's not about what I was going through. It's about what she was going through. At least that's how she approaches it. But no matter how many times I've explained it to her, she just doesn't understand. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just letting it go. Like letting go of trying to be understood by people that are dead set on misunderstanding me. Like you just kind of have to be at peace with that. You're like, okay, it's okay. And so I moved with him, and that lasted until I was 18. And it was a pattern of abuse. Like there was isolation, there was verbal abuse, there was emotional manipulation, there was, my grandparents did this about my mom when I was little, and so my dad ended up doing it too to me when I was growing up. But they would just talk crap about the other people that I loved and that I cared about because they were trying to get me to detach and not care about them and to be like blindly loyal to them instead of, the people that I knew I loved and I knew needed me. So yeah, he made me homeschool. He didn't teach me. I had to teach myself. He basically turned me into like this mini housewife where I had to, do all of that domestic stuff. And Yes, I was able to get my driver's license, so now that I think about it, I'm like, that was rare, but no, I was able to. Not with him trying to teach me, though, because he was yelling at me the whole time. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. One time he tried to teach me, and he was flipping his shit, and he was stressing me the fuck out. I felt like I was going to have a freaking aneurysm. And so I was like, I'm never doing this with you again. Like, you suck. I will learn by myself or with anybody else, but I am not learning how to drive with you. So that was that. At one point, my Uncle Louis, his middle brother, his younger brother, was living with us, and I remember cherishing those times because he had his, at the time, I don't know if they were married, but baby mama, and she had her first baby, and I was taking care of her. So, like, once again, I'm taking care of babies. Like, babies love me. And I had 2 dogs. I had, like, a little toy poodle and a little retriever, and pretty much I had everything I wanted, but I just did not. It was a whole nother battle, and we were literally, like, he's a pastor too, and so we were always going to church, and I was always, like, I have notebooks full of notes that I would take during church, because no sooner somebody would say something on the pulpit, I would have another string. Like, now I'm learning those are called downloads, but I would have more knowledge about it and have to write about it and talk about it. And I was reading those notebooks recently, and I looked at them, and I'm like, what I'm saying is making sense. What he would respond, because he would write back in my journal during the preaching, he would write back a response, and I'm just, like, looking at it now as a grown adult, and I'm looking at it, and I cannot make sense of it. Like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, he's not saying anything. A lot of this, no substance. It was like this chaotic dance of words, and it made 0 sense. I'm like, how? So anyway, his logic is nuts. And by the time I was 18, a lot had happened, but there was this big blowout, and he attacked me over water. There was a bottle of water. Tensions were rising, and he was literally trying to bait me all the time, trying to fight with me, like, verbally. And so I realized everything I was saying was like new ammunition for him. So I stopped talking, and I would just stare at him. And I was like this mirror that he didn't like. He hated the reflection, but he still took it out of me. So one day he decided to, I said this argument, I was like, this is stupid. And he said, what do you call me? What did you call me? And I said, this is stupid. Clarifying that I'm not calling you stupid. This is. And he lunged at me and grabbed my hair, trigger warning. And with the other hand, he started hitting me with his palm across the face, just over and over again. It's like he knew strategically how to hit me without leaving a mark. That's what he would do to my mom. And he had a pattern, and he had a history. Like, he would do it to, he fought my Uncle Louis. He fought just anybody that threatened his absolute authority. He was very insecure. God complex to the max. Just dangerously insecure. And the word stupid, like, my grandma used it all the time. She would always call herself stupid, but it really triggered him. But he was just using it as an excuse. So basically, he, like, dragged me through the house, doing this to me, hitting me, and I was trying to fight back. But he had me by the hair. Mind you, I did not have long hair after that. I stopped having long hair. Obsessed with having short hair now. But yeah, it got to the point where I just kept cussing at him, and every time I would cuss, he would hit me. He must have hit me like 7 to 10 times, like bad, where I was seeing stars. Like, I ended up having to have retina surgery on that side where he hit me, and I think they're related. But I lost vision. My retina detached years later. I was also abusing contacts. I used to wear contacts and sleep in them for days and days. So it was partially my fault too. But it was interesting that only that side where he had been hitting me was the side that had retina detachment. The other side was just... So anyway, it was really bad, really scary. My brother was visiting at the time, and my soon-to-be stepmom, who she's a tool as well. She like basically became my best friend just to get to him, and used all my secrets and used everything against me to get with him. Like, oh hey, I'll tell you everything she said so we can be close. Like, very manipulative, very shady, and very like crazy. So they deserve each other. But my brother at the time was visiting, and the door was open. We were inside, and so everybody in the car heard. So that was 3 of her kids, plus my cousin Julie, who has since passed, and my brother. So yeah, it was a whole thing. My mom drove from Oklahoma to Colorado and one night and picked us up because we were both terrified. We were both not okay. We went to my aunt's house and stayed there for the night. I later found out that he immediately started lying to my grandmother and my grandpa about how it went down and what happened. He said that I hit him first, which I'm not the fighter in the family. Never have been. But somehow they believed him. He was just very like manipulative, and he would put pressure on you, and he would like use intimidation tactics, like to, you better believe me or I'm gonna flip shit kind of thing. So that was when I was 18. So I moved back to Oklahoma. All that to say is, like, the first chunk of my life, a whole lot of heartbreak. Later on, the second chunk, a whole lot of heartbreak. And there's always been something within me that has never let go. Like, I think without my younger brothers, I might have. So I believe in soul contracts, so I believe that was the reason why. Because there had to be an anchor, there had to be a selfless reason why I couldn't just dip out, because I was like, if I dip out, that'll destroy them. I just can't do that. Otherwise, it might have. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cry this much. So I'm 39 now. And finally learning how to heal that broken heart, and how to love myself better than anyone ever could. How to break karmic cycles so that I stop going through the heartbreak that I no longer identify with. Like, I used to say I'm so good at being sad, like, make it a profession. Should have been an actress. I could cry so easy. Like, when I see actors talking about, oh yeah, what do I have to do to cry in a scene? And I'm like, I can think of like 20 things in my life to make myself cry, if not more. And yeah, so production would love me if it was a sad movie. So my heartbreak has taught me that I have a big heart, that hearts can heal, and that karmic cycles can be broken. Because in my early 30s, I was still noticing some pretty destructive patterns, and I was like, wait a second, I thought you just grew out of this stuff. Like, when you're older, don't you just snap out of it? And I wasn't. So I was starting to, like, I have good pattern recognition, and I was realizing the patterns I was repeating, and I was like, hold up. I'm not okay with this. Like, I'm pissed off that I keep making the same mistakes. Especially when I started like having nieces and nephews. I was like, hold on. But it was a lot of manipulation I still had to work through. People knew I had a big heart. So they would, excuse me, affirmation. They would use me as this like wishing well for their dreams and for their manifestations, and just leave me dry. And I would walk away with the pieces like professional Humpty Dumpty assembler. Put myself back together over and over. But now that I know how to protect my energy and heal and cleanse my energy of others, I'm getting a lot better. I'm feeling more like myself, and I'm recognizing and remembering my lifelong dreams, which were helping animals and helping people. Like, I've still had this bubbly spirit, and now I'm sober, which is insane. I never thought, but it's like when you're so overwhelmed all the time from being an empath, you just chase the numbing stuff. Like so I loved Mary Jane, I loved alcohol. Now that I'm older, I still like Mary Jane, but it's just not something I've been dependent on for a little bit. And alcohol just makes me feel like poop. And there's a lot of poop in it, like a lot of toxins. So I still like it, but I just don't depend on it. And I know my grandpa, who just passed away, is very proud. Because that was his battle too. So being a generational curse breaker is like the hardest assignment, but it's the most necessary one. You gotta do it. And I don't mean you gotta make yourself, you just gotta do the work, like taking care of yourself and healing yourself so that you can help heal others. Because nobody asked for this, like, I mean, I guess if you think about soul contracts, maybe we did. But we did it from a stronger standpoint, where we were maybe naive and thinking like, oh yeah, Earth School, I know it's a bitch, but I can do it. And then you're here and you're like, you have different abilities than you did with your full consciousness, your full soul, not fragmented. So Earth School is no joke, and I will never judge anyone for having a hard time. But all that to say is that I've been chasing good feels and unconditional love, even though it's been hard to find, unless it's through my puppies and my cat. Like, certain people, yeah. But unconditional love has been the one thing that has always resonated with me and has always motivated me. And that's because that's the truth. Like, so then it became, how do I teach myself unconditional love for self? And I'm doing it by having self-respect and by learning what's my energy versus others, and just accepting that we're all on our own journey. You don't control people, you don't force people, you just allow them to be on their journey, and you're doing yours. And if they have questions, they'll ask. But I'm not an evangelist for be in a certain way. I'm just, if people have questions, I'm like, I think I know the answer. Like, I've been here. This helped me. Like, I'm just eager to help people. I know why I came here. Is to help people heal and to help people build a different experience. If you're like sick of going through heartbreak and you're like, man, I've been here before, whether that's through seeing it in other people in your life or you personally, like just breaking the cycles, cleaning up your karma, raising your vibration, living in gratitude instead of attitude. Confirmation burp. I also had cereal. Could be a combination effect. But yeah. Love is the highest vibration. And as Yeshua said, you are love and you are loved. And I appreciate anybody who has been through hard stuff. I appreciate you for being here. Even if you didn't make it, even if you're not here anymore and you're on the other side and I still appreciate you. And we're doing this together. Like, I'm always here to help. I'm just trying to learn how to help myself now, so that I can pour from a full cup and not feel depleted afterward, not feel confused afterward. So that was heavy and deep. I'm sorry. But it was also just the reality of this existence, It's a roller coaster. And the experiences are just everything. So keep chasing those experiences and building community and focusing on what you want more of. Like, if you want more good and happy and love and compassion, put your attention on that stuff and focus on that and have inspired action toward that. Work from the heart space. Don't get stuck up here. Okay, a lot of advice. All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.